Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So, in today's message, I want to share with you some thoughts on our vitality. This term just came to me. I was starting to pull together a message for you all, and I felt like that was the most appropriate term to open the discussion with. Vitality, meaning our life force energy. Okay. I think sometimes we can take this for granted. Instead of recognizing it for the gift that it really is. Not just life in general as being a gift, because it is, but that what drives us, what keeps us going, it's more than just motivation. It's more than just those feel-good adrenaline type hormones or whatever's going on in our body. It's more than that even. It's more than physical. It's more than just our sheer will, our mentality. It's deeper than that. It's the numinous aspect that keeps us sustained, that keeps us just healthy and full of energy, but not just physical energy, but emotional, mental, spiritual energy, right? It's that life force energy that really cannot be confined within the limitations of language. That's how I view it, right? So we're going to talk about it. We're going to expand on it and just kind of do some deep diving into some concepts around that topic today. First of all, I want to share with you just something that's very practical that was the path that I took as far as the first steps to restore myself, to regain that vitality in my life as soon as I was able to detach from a negative environment, a draining and toxic environment. These are the first steps that I took. The first step was sleep. And it wasn't, for me, intentional. It can be intentional for you, but to just intentionally, rescript, your current life pattern and habits and your schedule and everything so that you can just be intentional about getting more sleep. For me, I had something happen to me, and I didn't have a choice physically but to stay in bed for a while, and so it forced me to get caught up on sleep, and it was very, very helpful for me. And so a lot of times in abusive relationships and circumstances, family systems, things like that, you can be intentionally sleep deprived. And if you suffer from that for years, it certainly takes a toll on your, not just your physical health, but your mental health. It's kind of like your cognition really takes a hard hit, And so getting caught up on sleep is something that I think, again, we take for granted. How demanding our modern society really is on us, and that works against us. And so when we add to the demands of just everyday life in our current culture, we add to that with somebody who's intentionally trying to wear us down to keep us, in this little box, just under their control. I don't think we really identify what's going on sometimes until we are in a really bad way. And so I just encourage you to get caught up on sleep. And then the second thing I did was detox. And I did this a couple of different ways. The first way was I went walking kind of in the middle of the day in the summer last year, and you have to be careful with that, obviously. Obviously you don't want to get a heat stroke or anything like that, right? Or suffer with dehydration or pass out or anything like that. I was very careful with it, and I did it like that on purpose because I wanted to sweat. So when I say detoxing, sweating, I think, is something that gets overlooked sometimes. It's like we want to just fit it in. If we even make it to the gym, it's like, okay, I'm going to, allow, 30 minutes of cardio and just sweat it out. And that's great. That's great. It's better than nothing. But I'm kind of old fashioned, and I just prefer to, do it out in the sun. And I don't know. I just feel like there's probably some benefits that we haven't identified yet, with with that whole process of sweating outside in the sun, and it just was very good for me. It just was very restorative for me. And so walking, exercise, but also the sweating part helps you detox. The other way I detoxed was with smoothies, and it was just a mixture of berries, and then I put in a scoop of spirulina, and I think it's some type of algae powder that is supposed to be very unique in the way that it helps us to, it's like it attaches to toxins in our body in a way that other things can't, to help flush them out of our system. And so I had tests run that that told me I really needed to do that, and I was specifically told that I really needed to do that. And this is not from, you know, anything that I did intentionally, like taking drugs or anything like that. It was just I had toxins in my system, and so I had to get those out. So sweating, and then you can look into things like spirulina, and then also cilantro was recommended directly to me as a way to help detox as well, specifically with heavy metals. And those are found in a lot of things, you know, pesticides, and I think they're even in commercial tobacco, and all kind of things like that, heavy metals. So just take a look into that too. And then the third thing I did to restore my body first, so that my cognition would function properly and I could start making sense of things, to heal, you know what I mean, to process what all I had been through and to heal, learn and grow then further on, was I looked into inflammation. And it turns out my body was very inflamed, probably from a variety of reasons. And if you do some research into inflammation, it really is interesting, because stress itself can cause inflammation in your body, as well as a lack of sleep, which ties into stress. You can't handle stressful things as well when you haven't had enough sleep. It all works together. And but there's foods that are inflammatory that you can cut back on, and then you can add anti-inflammatory foods into your diet. What I did was I started drinking ashwagandha tea, and it helped a lot. And that was advice to me, and I was very grateful for it, because all these things together, if you looked at me the way I just looked, and furthermore, if you tried to engage in conversation with me, like when I started this process versus like 5 months later, it's like I was two totally different people. It was that drastic. So that's what I did, and I just thought I would share that with you. But talking about vitality, you know, I did look up that term, of course, on the online etymology dictionary, and it just essentially means life force, right? Our life force. And then, of course, because I was thinking of what a gift it really is, I looked up the term gift, and that brought me to some really interesting points in that same online etymology dictionary. I need to drop a link in there in the description for you all. It's a really cool resource online. But the other things associated with the term gift are dowry, and as well as poison, which is incredible. That word can mean, you know, something can be so wonderfully beautiful and positive, and then also have this this polar opposite side to it that means something very bad and negative and detrimental, such as poison. So that's really interesting to look into. But that's, you know, associated with certain languages, like some specific types of German throughout history and things like that. I can't remember. But what I did was I got to thinking about dowries, and how, you know, throughout history they've just been a big part of different cultures. And I want to read something to you here, and then we'll expand on that. Okay, so I looked up dowry online, and this is from a website called European. I'll drop the link down below. .eu, and it says the original purpose of a dowry was to compensate the bride's family for the loss of her labor and her reproductive potential. But anyway, initially, the original purpose was actually for the dowry to be paid to the bride's family, right? An acknowledgement for her value in some way, okay? to compensate her family's loss of her, right? And then it says somewhere before the start of the ancient Roman period, the custom became reversed, like so many things, even some words, the meanings to the words that we found in different videos, so that the bride's family had to give a dowry to the husband's kin. Now, this discussion is not meant to assess dowries, and the appropriateness or debate, that's not my point here. I'm bringing that up. Here's my point. I just found it really interesting that it shifted, totally shifted. That it started with acknowledging, especially, and I want you to look at this through this lens. Okay, this may help. A lot of what we talk about on this channel is personification, right? Like characterizing an aspect of one's own psyche. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the bride, as we're discussing dowry and the history of dowry and what happened with it, the shift that happened. We're looking at the bride as as the main character, meaning your vitality, a person's vitality or life force energy, or the numinous aspect, or your intuition, or which intuition was very often personified in stories, myths that were presented in Esté's book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. So that's what we're doing here, okay? And supposedly with archetypal psychology, that's what happens. We can look at just common traditions and customs within a culture, and if we look deeper, sometimes we can see that there's an unconscious motivation driving things that's stemming from the way we value or the way we don't value an aspect of ourselves and things like that. There was a quote, and I can't remember which one of my books this came out of, but I found it recently and I shared it in a video with you all. But it was really a profound quote, and it was something that it was a conclusion I had already drawn. And then when I found that quote, I thought, okay, that's awesome. So essentially what it meant, the quote, was that when you're able to identify a pattern in life with something, then it's kind of like you found the key that you can then understand everything. It's almost like there's only this one truth and just different variations of that one truth. It's like that's all there is. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like conceptually. And so if we look at this, I know this was a real custom, and it may still be in certain parts of the world. I don't know, but I know historically this was a real custom that we can benefit from examining it. We're just touching on it too. Through the lens of personifying a grander, deeper truth about ourselves, okay? So, originally the dowry acknowledged the bride's value and was given, because of the loss of her absence, right? Her absence from her family. And then it turned into the reverse. Then it was paid out from the family to the husband's family, her family to the husband's family. And essentially it's kind of like, the bride going to their family wasn't enough. It's like there had to be something paid in addition to her value. So the first act was an acknowledgement of her value in whole. And then when it was reversed, it was like an acknowledgement of her value having a lack or having a need. Okay, like there needs to be more. Now I know, again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not here as some kind of expert on this stuff, and I'm certainly not trying to justify one way or another, because I could make an argument. I've already thought about this, like economically, and helping to establish the foundation of a new family. And I understand there's arguments to be made on all sides, so we're not talking about that. We're simply looking at the symbolism here, okay? It's just really interesting to me that there was a switch there. There was a changeover from a value in whole and total to a value that's lacking, that has to be added to, that has to be substantiated with more, okay? like it's not enough on its own. So if we're inspired by this elusive quote that I can't find, but I explained to you all, if we look at the pattern of narcissism in general, which can be observed and identified, it's a genuine cycle or loop, okay, that you can observe. And just to break it down to its simplest, bare bones, it's what? It's the love bomb or the grand impression, right? The hook, the lure in stories and myth. Sometimes it's a lure, founded, of course, in bad motives and, deceit and things like that. But then there's the devalue. Once the object or the person or the prize is stolen and taken, then it's devalued. That's the next stage. And then the last is the discard. Okay, so if you look at this pattern, what's happening is it's going from valuing to devaluing, just like how the dowry assessed the bride's value. Valuing to devaluing, like enough. In fact, so much enough, here's something to compensate for the loss, to not quite enough, let me add to it. So there's a pattern, there's a shift, okay, from valuing to devaluing. So on a grander scale, there's some sayings, and I'll just pick one as an example here, and that is, the higher up you go, right, like, if you're thinking about valuing and devaluing, the higher up you go, the harder you fall. You've heard something like that, or a variation of it, right? And then also we have, even in the Bible, you can look up a lot of verses that relate to this. And just here's one example. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." See? So again, we have this truth that seems to fit anywhere you look, within oneself. If you talk about, being haughty and arrogant and just a big and overinflated ego, or whether you're talking about within a family system or a new marriage or society, at large, or just so many different ways you can fit this one truth. You see what I'm saying? And so if we turn this concept on ourselves, and again, our inspiration today is the concept of vitality or life force energy, I would say this: if we don't recognize the value of our own life force energy or vitality, then we'll mistakenly think that we need to add to that to try and earn our value or to prove it. Okay? Now, the difference, see, and you can see this in people when you observe, some people can think outside the box. And, just like, for example, it doesn't have to be about money, but as an example, they can earn money in very creative ways. They can start their own businesses and things like that. Now, the difference in those people is that they start by having the awareness and appreciation of their own value, right? They already know it. And so that's a good foundation that helps them to succeed from that point, from that place. You see what I'm saying? Versus someone who may never, what's the word I want to use? Work their way up throughout a career because they're just totally striving and working to prove themselves. And so again, there's something to be said about this mindset of lack versus a mindset of wholeness, and I definitely think our own recognition of our own worth, and it's not just worth, because that matters and that plays a part, but today I want you to differentiate this one particular aspect of your worth. Specifically, I want us to focus on that life force energy inside of us. Okay, we're going to talk more about it because the value of our essence is so precious. It's meant to be honored like a hidden treasure, okay? Our acts coming from a place of fear or inadequacy can actually light the path for the wrong people to find our treasure. It's like God placed our vitality, this life force energy, within us, right? I'm thinking of like this glowing, energetic, ball that's just, I guess if you could visualize spirit, you know what I mean? That's housed inside of us, as a vessel. It's like God placed that there as a treasure, okay? And when we value it as such, it's going to come through even our unconscious behaviors, and unconsciously we'll act to shield it and protect it. You see what I'm saying? Excuse me. Unconsciously and intentionally, probably. But when you don't acknowledge the value of it, this treasure, then unconsciously, again, you may act in ways it's almost like you're drawing attention to yourself that you don't value it. And it's like there may be people with bad intentions that are looking for that. You see what I'm saying? It's just something to think about. But I do believe it's a treasure. Specifically, our energy, our life force energy is a treasure. And so when we don't value it that way, and all of our acts come from this place of inadequacy or fear, I do think it can light the path for the wrong people to find this treasure. And the thing is, it's not meant to be found like that. It's not meant for that to go down like that, okay? It's meant to be treated like our greatest pearl. So what does this look like in real life? Before we get into that, I want to share this. There's a difference in defending versus reacting or retaliating, okay? Or getting caught in the mud or stuck in the mud, or, we're going to talk about this because I think we can all sometimes be mistaken here. And I think it's just good to take a few minutes and just kind of clear this in our minds, okay? Get clear about it. First of all, I looked up the term defend, which means to shield from attack, guard against injury or assault, okay? So that's interesting because it's kind of like it's the word preemptive. In other words, it's like a preventative thing you do before an injury or attack to try and guard against it, okay, to defend. But I think sometimes we mistakenly think our actions taken after we've been attacked serve to defend us. And maybe they can, but I think we need to be ultra careful here, okay? This is why I'm sharing this distinction with you. So I looked up, like I said, the word defend. Let me share this with you. This is really interesting. So it says from the mid-14th century, it means to defend with words or speak in support of, right? But more than that, this is what I want us to focus on. To vindicate, uphold, and maintain, okay? And then again, it expands in Middle English. It could also mean forbid, prohibit, restrain, and prevent. So to uphold and maintain, to forbid, prohibit, and restrain. What stood out to me in all this is that when you are defending in those ways, the focus is staying where it should. The focus in doing those things is staying on you. Upholding, maintaining, forbidding, okay, preventing. I view that like preserving that treasure, that pearl, okay? In other words, you're not engaging with the person that's attacking you, okay? You're not giving them your energy. What does it mean to engage with? It means to invest your energy there, you see. And we're talking today about our energy, our life force energy, our vitality. You're not leaking it out there, thinking that you are defending yourself, when really that's the trap. That's the hook. That's the lure, see. So a love bomb might not come off the way it sounds. A love bomb is meant to be a snare. So a love bomb can actually be an attempt to steal your life force energy, even if it's by means of getting you to defend yourself in the manner that a lot of us think of as defending ourselves, which is engaging with this toxic individual. I just encourage you to hold tight to these other meanings. Upholding. This is all about you, yourself, your character, your integrity, your life force energy. Upholding, maintaining, and also forbidding and preventing, okay? Because the thing is, we can't control others, okay? Only ourselves. So, just think about shielding yourself, right? And even if there is an attack that makes it through, just maintain. Just uphold and maintain, okay? I've thought about this, and I think one of the biggest clues for me that someone is toxic is that their primary focus seems to be on others more than themselves. These are people who need supply, right? It's kind of like where your focus goes, your energy flows. There's another term I thought, or phrase I thought of on the fly, and it's true. And it's kind of like there's these people who are constantly depleted because their focus is on you, because they're wanting you to fill them with your energy. It's like this transaction, this exchange, but you don't want to be a part of it because really they have nothing to offer for you. Now, I'm not talking, let me just clarify real quick, because we can all sometimes put the focus outside of ourselves. Sometimes we can all focus on other people. I'm not talking about that. There's comedians that joke about other people and, poke fun at, different aspects of humanity. I'm not talking about that, right? What I'm talking about is people who were trying to stir up drama and get you involved as part of their mask, as part of this show, because they have something to hide. And so, and it could be a double life or hidden motives or who knows what. And so they keep you busy. They try to keep you busy by engaging your life force energy. They're exploiting your life force energy, right? That's what's happening. So I want to share something with you. One huge way that we can know that someone knows what they're doing is that if you have the privilege to observe both the person pointing the finger and the one being accused, you can see eventually that in having to make something up about the person that they're accusing, they're pulling from the only resource that they have, which is their own mind, okay? And you can confirm what's going on later when they do the very things that they're accusing others of doing. It's all coming from the same place, see? You just have to sit back, and be quiet and just observe. And, but I tell you this because if you're the one, if you have the unfortunate experience of being the one who is being, having the finger pointed at, your truth stands on its own. Okay, I just want you to know that. People that don't see your truth either will eventually, or they won't care to. And if it's people that don't care to see your truth, then they're not your people. Not everybody on this planet is going to be your people, your kind, okay? They're just not, and that's okay. So just, don't waste your energy on those kind of people. You know what I mean? Don't fall for being provoked, for provocations. Don't fall for that. Because here's what happens. If you feel like you're doing the right thing and defending after you've been attacked, it's like now it's like you're meant to learn and grow and elevate. And when you stop, long enough to be like, hey, wait a minute, then they have succeeded in driving this wedge between you and where you're intended to go in life. And so, the higher you go, the brighter you shine, okay? And the more, this is only going to happen when you're able to just, again, uphold and maintain, your own well-being, because you're shielding yourself. In other words, you're not even exposing your energy to just even looking at what other people are saying. You're not even going there. You're protecting that vitality, okay? You're maintaining your well-being in that manner, your energy, where you're investing it. Okay, and so what's going to happen is you're going to be able to continue to elevate, and as you get higher and higher, you're going to shine brighter and brighter. Okay, and what happens is, when I say that, it's like the higher you elevate and the brighter you glow, right? Some people call it your glow up. There's going to be more contrast between you and the darkness down here. There's going to be more of a separation up here at the higher altitudes. Okay, there's going to be a very obvious contrast. So, and this is the way it should be, because if you're able to do this, it means that you have invested your life force energy where it belongs. You've maintained it, you've shielded it, you've been very discerning about where you invest it. If it is in another person outside of yourself. So again, the difference in you and those very different from you will become way more obvious, okay? So if you think about this, I like to visualize things. Like, if you think about this, if you envision it, like atmospherically, if that's even a term, you think it like the atmosphere, the lower you remain, if you do allow yourself to get caught up in this trick, this lure, and you allow these people to drive this wedge between you and your intended heights, then the lower you remain atmospherically, then the muddier it all is. It's like it's all meshed together. It's like you can't differentiate between all the different elements. They're kind of just all meshed together, see, and cloudy. And what happens, I try to use these metaphors to illustrate a point, because what happens is, we all want to be with our own people, you know what I'm saying? And our own people can't find us when we're caught up in this mess, drama and stuff. And even though we may truly be a great person and has an honest heart and good intentions, if we're just so focused on defending ourselves, we're going to be in this mud and people can't see us. So that's what I mean when I say your truth stands on its own. If you just uphold that, your truth, and maintain that, and just don't let your life force energy pour out, you're going to keep elevating, and then it's going to be really obvious who's who, you see. Because these other people are going to stay down here. Both the perpetrators and the victims, right? Who can't break free from the temptation of being hooked in and thinking they have to defend themselves in that manner. You see what I mean? So, sometimes we think we can fool ourselves into thinking that we can stay down here and stay engaged with people that we just struggle to let go of because we love them, like family members or whatever, longtime friends, whatever it is. Somehow, sometimes we can fool ourselves into thinking we can have it both ways. We can elevate and stay here, but it doesn't work. All right, I'm going to share with you why. Sometimes gray rocking isn't even enough, and let me give you an example. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute, 2 minutes for any kind of engagement with these people to manifest in condescending comments. It's like they're compulsive with these people. These comments, like they just can't help themselves, which is why it looks like there's a demon driving them. You see what I'm saying? It looks that way because it's like they can't even help themselves. If you've already had a discussion with somebody, you're like, hey, listen, I know you probably didn't mean anything bad here. And really you're thinking, I would have never done that or said that. But you have this discussion. And you're like, I really just not comfortable with that. Or I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't, point that out. I'm doing my best or whatever. If they continue to do it, I've literally firsthand witnessed when you point this out and it's like they just can't stop it and it just comes out, and then you point it out again, they're like, yeah, I know I'm sorry. Yeah, I know I'm sorry. It's compulsive. And that certainly looks like there's something else driving that vehicle. It's like the person's aware, but they can't help themselves. So, and it don't take an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes. It could just be within 1 minute. As soon as you step foot into their zone, their presence, which is why you need to keep yourself away, okay, from that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that drains you energetically. Even if you don't respond or react in the moment, if there's any amount of care at all in your heart, like even a minuscule amount, which is totally understandable. If it's a parent or a sibling or a cousin or someone you've spent 20 or 30 years with, if there's just a tiny little grain of sand, bit of care in there, it's going to ping that life force energy, and it's going to just kind of just bring you back down, okay? Even if you don't respond, trying to defend yourself. This is what I've found, okay? So that's what I mean when I say sometimes gray rocking is not enough. These people are compulsive in how they are. So it may be condescending comments or just always switching up what they say. If you're like, hey, that doesn't make any sense. Or, hey, that's not true. Or, hey, you didn't just experience that or say that. I did. Yesterday, we talked about it for 30 whole minutes. And they're like, I don't remember that. I mean, just gaslighting you and just messing with your mind. You're caught in it. You're draining your energy. I don't feel like sharing all this with you all in videos is draining my energy, because I'm engaged in this with purpose for, a higher purpose. And that's what we can do for one another. We can share what we've learned and help one another elevate, right? So, but essentially, they're undermining your every effort. All right, so sometimes you have to physically remove yourself from that environment, because even when you try to ignore it, it'll continue. Again, it's like they're trying to force you to engage, and it gets exhausting. Even if you do successfully ignore it and you walk away and you're like, yes, I totally handled that right. It's exhausting. So, but moreover than that, not just getting yourself away from that environment, but getting yourself away from the whole network. And here's why. This one is going to talk to this one. This one's going to talk to this one. This one's going to talk to this one. And so on and so forth. You see how that works? So whether people have good intentions or they're just totally ignorant and don't know what's going on, or naive, or they want to be a part of the drama, whatever it is, you don't want to be a part of that mess, People who truly live in truth don't operate like that, and you know that. And so it's kind of like, I'm reminding you to stay real with yourself, you know what I mean? And just evaluate, what a particular connection or every connection is really worth to you, So, it's all really petty. It really is. It's like they'll dress up these minor things and just like over exaggerate, and just like, wow, I can't believe he said that, and like, oh my gosh, and they're just like so elaborate and over exaggerating about everything, and they just I've seen it so many times, turning nothing into something. And I've shared with you all how I've been in a management position before. Talk about a waste of your precious time in a company setting. My God. If you don't remove, literally, physically remove these people, like say you're fired, this ain't gonna work. If your hands are tied and you can't do that, or whatever it is, if you can't get these people out of the company, it's like a cancer that spreads. And it's just really crazy. And again, as a manager, it's just so disheartening to have to spend your precious energy on these things where these people are making something out of nothing. Okay, so it's just better to let these people play in their playground, because that's what it's like. It's so childish, you know. Meanwhile, if you are able to truly separate yourself, then you're going to feel like you're better armored up. Okay. And but it's that distance that creates the armor. Okay, the distance that creates it for me. And in doing so, you're able to elevate. Okay, and the other people in the world that are doing the same thing as you will be able to see you as you rise up too. And that's how you find your people. That's how you find your tribe. So I hope this has been encouraging, inspiring. I hope that it got the wheels turning for you. Please don't ever let another person tell you what to think. Always do your own thinking. I just hope, again, that I did get the wheels turning for you, and I gave you some things to think about. And I just thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.